I'm Matthew, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to draw a cute T-Rex in Adobe Illustrator. It has been 11 long years since I was last on YouTube, and the last tutorial that I shared with you was how to draw eyes. Currently, I am an illustrator and designer for children's apparel and gift bags in Walmart and Target. There are essential steps that you have to follow in creating any character, all right? And they are: number 1, research; 2, sketch; and 3, refine. There are some more steps that we're gonna cover in other videos, but those are the 3 that we wanna focus on today. Number 1 in research, you gotta think about that shape language and the anatomy of that character that you're creating. Also think about the style that you're creating it in. I love to follow character design boards on Pinterest because that's where I find a lot of creative aesthetic inspiration for what I draw my characters in. And then when you sketch, find that line of action and that movement. We don't like stagnant poses. We love emotion, so we gotta convey that through our sketches. And then going into refine, pick your favorite sketch. Bring that baby into Adobe Illustrator. I'm gonna be showing you the color palette and the tools that I use to create my sketches to turn them vector. So let's get into it. So with research being our first step in the process, I pulled together the 4 main buckets and the websites that I pull these images from here on the bottom right. So we first need to understand what the anatomical kind of positioning and movement of our character is. And then of course, character style. What's the style of the character that we'll be drawing it in? Because there's a lot of different ways and interpretations of a T-Rex. What's the background that you're going to place the character in? We want to anchor that character to an environment. What are the colors that we're going to be using for our character? I love this image here for color. I like that you have a deeper green paired with a lighter green. It feels very analogous because you have some blue in there. And for the websites that I pulled my reference and images from, of course, number 1 is Google. If I want to know the anatomy of a T-Rex and how it's positioned and the way it moves, just will simply Google something like T-Rex anatomy. I love to go into Dribbble and look at different illustrative interpretations of T-Rexes. I go into Pinterest, I go into Behance. We're going to take these 2 images, bring them into Photoshop, do some sketches from them, pick our favorite, and bring that back into Illustrator. 2 important things to note when you're creating any character is a line of action and the silhouette. So think about the movement that your character has. I've outlined in red the flowy movement that this T-Rex has. We don't like stagnant poses. We like things to feel loose. And the second thing is a silhouette. The tail right now is overlapping the dinosaur and it's disrupting the clarity of what the character is. We like limbs and tails to branch out from the body and not overlap it so that it's as clear as possible what you're looking at. So here are the 3 sketches that I developed, and my favorite of the 3 is the walking pose. To me, it just conveys the most movement and action because he's mid-step. If you'd like me to create another video where I go through the sketching process and break down shape language and silhouette and line of action further, please request in the comments below, and don't forget to click subscribe. There's a few tools in Adobe Illustrator that we'll be using to create our character. The first one being the pencil tool. Hit the letter N on your keyboard and it'll pull up this pencil icon. I hardly ever use a pen tool. It's too tedious for me. The pencil tool is just perfect for what we need. Double click that pencil tool. Make sure that this slider is in between, directly in the middle, between accurate and smooth. I'm going to click OK here. Another tool that we'll be using is the Eyedropper tool. Hover over a color. It doesn't matter if it's these colors or any color. Hit N again to start drawing, and then we're going to trace over our sketch. I went a little off the tracks here, but if I start back from before where I messed up and extend out and continue, it'll correct me. I'm going to hit the green over here, fill it in, lower the opacity down to, let's for now just say 50. So I can see the underlying sketch. All right, we're going to leave that alone. We're going to build out the rest of this vector. Now there's something I want you to notice about the way I drew these feet. They're not anatomical. I love how these feet are drawn here. They feel stubby and stout, and that's what I'm channeling in my sketch right here. So as I draw this, I'm going to be sourcing how this is drawn into my dinosaur on the left as I create this in vector. I like these also, how the arms are fluid. They have a slight joint bend, a very delicate one at the wrist and another one at the elbow, but really from a distance look pretty noodly. I'm holding shift as I click the rest of the limbs and shapes that I drew. We're going to crease everything to 100. We're just going to take a look at how everything looks. I'm going to go to Windows Layers. So I drew a place for the belly to go. We're going to go with a lighter green for that. We're going to draw that in. Cool. It doesn't matter if I drew the belly perfectly and didn't follow the line that I have in my sketch, because I'm about to show you why. Lighten this, and cool. All right, now stay with me. This might be a little tricky. Command 2 to lock that sketch. Select your belly. Select your big green shape here. Hit the shape builder tool. Hit Option to delete areas that you want removed that are extra and hanging over overlapping shapes. We need this shape to go in front of the green belly, so we're going to hit Object, Bring to Front. I'm going to extend this actually over the stomach so it doesn't have this hard, abrupt stop. All right, so let's add some teeth into our character. I'm going to just take a white color. Doesn't matter what white. I'm just using the white that comes preset with Illustrator. We're going to draw it into our character. Oop. Something a little bit more rounded because the toenails are rounded, so it should tie back better. We're going to hit this stroke. We're going to just give it a gray color. So when I want to select a bunch of objects together, group them and move them, what I do is for example, what I did just with the teeth now is I held shift, I selected each shape that I want to group together. That's 5. Hit Command G. Now you have a group. If you need to deselect it, hit Command Shift G, and now everything is its own element. So we're going to take this dark green. Oops, I had something selected. We're going to hit the Eyedropper tool, select that dark green for the eyes and the nostril. I think that stroke width is a little thick. Let's try 0.07. Just randomly going to throw something out there. Okay, cool. Now, let's make everything 100 opacity. Okay, let's hide this sketch layer because we don't need it anymore. If you need to remember, you don't need to remember where it is. You can just unlock it by hitting Command Option 2, selecting it, hitting the magnifying glass where it is. We already are where it was. Hide it. I feel like this foot's a little fatter than I want it to be. We need to have these meet in the middle a little better. So let's see. We're going to bulk up this back foot a little more. Drew that a little too thin. And then thin this down just a little bit. There's a tool in here that I want you to know about, and it's the Puppet Warp tool. So select somewhere on your shape that you want to distort. I think I have too many anchor points. I have too many points for this Puppet Warp tool to work the way I want it. So I want this foot to angle up a little more. So I took the puppet warp tool. We're gonna angle that foot up. I'm shifting the rotation towards the top to angle it. We're going to add in some details. The smooth tool is accessed by hitting N, clicking and holding down the pencil, and dropping the smooth tool. Drag that circle around the edges of your shape and it'll smoothen it out and give you less anchor points and it'll be less rigidy. Now, what I like about this reference here is that you have dark and light circles for texture. That's another big thing about our characters, is that we want it to have texture. We don't just want it to be a flat shape. If I didn't have these spots here, it wouldn't be very interesting to look at. So I like that there's light circles and dark circles. So we're going to add some light ones around the limbs and in the back like they did here. We're going to create outlines to accentuate parts of our character here. I like that they use like a darker outline to accentuate the limbs, and we're going to do the same for ours. Now let's take this black color and add in some spikes. There needs to be an accessory, other elements to complete this. So it's summertime and I want this T-Rex to be walking in the pool. So I'm thinking, and something that I've used a lot in my other characters for summertime are the inner tubes and sunglasses. They're easy go-tos that punch up a design and make it more interesting. Hit Command Y so you can see everything in wireframe mode, because right now the white is bleeding into the background. Command Y again to get out of wireframe mode. We're going to take the red color here. The red is going as stripes over the inner tube. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to use the shape builder tool to delete any excess. We're going to hit the brush tool. So we're going to hit Command B, that brings up our brush tool. We're going to draw a sunglass shape. So we're going to take Command M, hitting the letter I on the keyboard, Eyedropper Tool, left bracket to bring it to the back. So we're going to name our character. I know that's not one of the steps that I had listed in the beginning, but it's something fun I like to do. His name's going to be Terry. And Terry's giving me serious Taurus vibes. And Terry's a T-Rex. So he is Terry the Taurus T-Rex. Now that sounds funny. Terry the T-Rex. Terry the T-Rex the Taurus. Terry the Taurus T-Rex. There you go.